Hello and welcome to episode 16 of Always a Patriot, the John Jay Soccer Podcast. I'm Brendan Horton, joined as always by Coach Robert Seipp. How's it going, Coach?
Fantastic. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. Another week in the books.
Yeah. It was a good week of soccer for us, and you and I went to different college games today, right? It's Saturday evening that we're recording this, and I went up to Herkimer to see Landon pitch a little bit in a little inter-squad game. But as soon as that game was over, I raced over to the soccer field to catch some of the men's soccer game. Just love watching Herkimer play. Your brother played for them. My brother played for them. So it was awesome to see, our guys play this week. We played at Scarsdale and then at Portchester. We'll talk about those games in a minute. But then to see, another level, to see that junior college level was kind of cool for me. And I know that you saw Zach Rabati play over at Oneonta and Eric Pop as well, right?
Yeah, I ran up to Vassar for Oneonta was in town. Zach had told us when we had him on, a month or so ago, he and Eric Pop were both playing in that game. So I wanted to go there. I wanted to see their pregame preparation. So I got there about 3:15, and then they both played in the first half. Zach started, Eric played about the last 15 minutes of the first half. I had to leave at halftime, unfortunately. But it was just good to see. I saw, Zach's parents and other people there. And there's a lot of other Section 1 players from the Hudson Valley, Milton Macias Magana from Mamaroneck, Dylan Kelly from Beacon, just a lot of guys who we've played against over the years. So it was nice. Oneonta starts 11 players from New York, which is, a huge exception to, almost every roster that we would look at any division level. So it was just good to see a lot of those guys out there playing.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I didn't look at the Herkimer roster, but not too many kids from New York, I wouldn't think. A lot of foreign accents on that field, on the Herkimer field. And they were playing against, I think, Broome Community College, and they only had 13 guys on the rosters. They were a little shorthanded. But that just tells me opportunity for guys to play, right, at the college level. If you want to play, you can find some of these schools that struggle. Dutchess Community College, I think, is another school. I haven't seen them play yet this fall, but just an opportunity for guys to get out there and to get on the field and to play. And like you, I had to leave the game early. Herkimer was up 8-0 early in the second half, but yeah, they've got a good squad, and they move the ball really well, and a lot of talking out there. That's the big takeaway that I took from it, is guys are just constantly chirping and talking to each other and giving each other advice. A high level of intensity, even at 8-0. I'll be honest with you, even at 8-0. And I'm looking over, at Pepe Aragon's bench, thinking, when is he gonna put subs in? I mean, it was about 60 minutes into the game, and they were still playing like it was 0-0, which really impressed me. Really impressed me.
Interestingly enough, another similar takeaway from that Vassar and Oneonta first half. I also was enamored by the amount of chatter that goes on, especially defensively from Oneonta, and listening to guys communicate with each other effectively on where to go, and I'm here and you're there, and to just help them, like you said. It was so good. They did struggle. Oneonta, they were, their warm up, they were engaged, they were locked, and they just had trouble moving the ball to feet in that first half that I saw. And interestingly enough, with 15 minutes left in that first half, their coach subbed 5 players at once on their team. So half of what you had talked about yourself doing in your first year at John Jay, but he pulled an outside back, 2 midfielders, his center forward, and one of the wingers, all with 15 minutes left. And I could hear, I was sitting in the Oneonta fan section, and I could hear parents and fans talking about how little they typically substitute. So this was, a big sort of a deal for them to try and get back on track. I was my takeaway from it.
Right.
And it did work. I thought they put in a center forward who really helped hold up play, a real, thick, strong kid. And Eric Pop went in the game. It was good to see him and Zach sharing the center midfield again, like they did for us. But it's just very, very interesting to see those things. It was a good experience overall.
Yeah, I love going to those college games. Next week, I think we're going to Marist, Quinnipiac,
Yep.
at
Yes.
Marist. So
Yep.
looking forward to that. Yeah, we'll be planning
Yeah.
on being in the stands there.
Yeah, well, 7 p.m. kickoff. I'm going to try and get there by like 6 and just show our guys. We have a lot of players with these Division One aspirations, and they think of themselves as future Division One players. So, want them to take a look at what it looks like. What does pregame look like for a Division One soccer player? And what do they look like physically? What does their touch look like? And then I want to try and get a copy of the roster and just have them take a look at how many Americans are on the roster.
Yeah. Yeah.
So to just have sort of at least an informed opinion on what things are like, and just to see what good soccer is, because you and I, we went and watched Marist play last November, and we saw a bunch of other MAC games as well, and it's really, really good soccer, and
Yeah.
I'm really pumped for that as well. Hopefully we get a really good turnout from our guys, and have like a nice team event to do that tomorrow, next Saturday, I should say.
Yeah. 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 Looking forward to that. Definitely. We play at North Rockland in the morning, right? So
Yep.
that's the team that knocked us out of the sectional tournament last year. So that'll be a big game for us coming up on Saturday morning, and then we'll get home, get a bite to eat, and then head over to Marist and yeah, watch that game. So that'll be exciting. And the weather's been beautiful, right? I mean, up at Herkimer, my God, just 70 degrees, sunny. I mean, just what a day to be outside and to watch, some really high level soccer, good stuff. And the weather was good for us this week, right? We went to Scarsdale on Monday, and played against the three-time section champs, right? They've won the section the last 3 years. Just speaking of warm-ups, you were talking about the college warm-ups. It's a long bus ride down to Scarsdale, and I'm old, so I had to run and go to the bathroom. And when I came out of the bathroom, one of our groups was playing, a little possession stuff, and it was just too slow. So I just, as I'm, sort of jogging back across the field, and I'm saying to the guys, come on, you got to play quicker, you got to play faster, you got to move that ball. And like we've talked about with our group, all summer and fall season long, they responded. I mean, they started moving the ball quicker, and I know we mentioned that to them at halftime. Like, you guys can play faster. It shouldn't be us, that encourages you guys to play faster. You should realize that you're not playing fast enough, and just do that on your own. But I'm sure at that college level, when we went to see Marist and Iona and Ryder, all the teams that we saw last fall season, we just saw guys playing so quick and moving that ball, 1-2 touch, and knowing what you're going to do with that ball before you even get it. And in that Scarsdale warm up, again, it's a long bus ride. I get it. You're sort of lethargic when you get off the bus, but got to ramp yourself up in those warm ups. You know what I mean? And if nothing else, mentally, you got to be ready to play quick and move that soccer ball, and play one touch. And just too many of our guys, as I was coming back out of the bathroom, would just receive the ball, think about it, take a second touch, and then with their third touch, pass it. Too late against a team like Scarsdale, right? But and I sort of thought that that's how we started the game, right? It wasn't a great start for us in Scarsdale.
Yeah, well, I mean, or in Port Chester, right? I think, and again, that's another long bus ride. We'll talk about the games, but I do think there's some aspect where a lot of high school soccer players, when they're going through warm ups, whether it's a practice, a training session, or a game, there's just a lot of going through the motions. And when you watch college soccer at any level, right? Whether it's Division One, Division Three, Division Two, AIA, the junior college. These guys are so unbelievably focused, right? The roster is big. You have guys on that field and team who know for a fact they are not playing in that game, and they warm up like it's the most important thing they could possibly do that day, because it is. And we've got to be able to somehow convey that to our players, and I think it's going to be important for them to get there nice and early next Saturday and see that firsthand, because it's one thing to hear us say it, and then it's another thing to see it and see what it really is. Today at the game, Oneonta players, when they're coming off from the warm-up, they're drenched. I mean, drenched, because they're just working and working, and they are ready to play and ready to compete. And it can't take 5 minutes or 10 minutes, or sometimes a whole first half, to kind of wake up and get into the flow of a game. By then you may be down a goal or two goals, and you've effectively lost, already.
Yeah, it's so true, and I think just the value of those guys going to see it. I know I've told you this story before, but my brother Dave, when he was being recruited by Ray Reid, Ray Reid went on to UConn and went on to win a national championship at UConn. Coached Rui Fernandez, a kid that I had coached with Jeff Mateo in club soccer when they won the national championship. But Ray Reid was at Southern Connecticut at the time, and my brother went for a recruiting visit. Now, my brother's an All-American at John Jay, right? Excellent soccer player. And he goes to Southern Connecticut with Ray Reid and watches one of their training sessions. And the rules back then were in Division II. You know, you could train once with the team. You could participate in one practice. So he's there, you know, watching this practice. And my brother, I wasn't there, but my brother's telling me the story when he comes back home. He's like, Rob, you had to see it. Like, these guys are knocking the ball so quick. And he said, it's a level I've never seen before. And he said, the coach is screaming, not fast enough, not good enough. It's just not fast enough. Let's go. You got to move the ball quicker. And my brother says to me, he says, Rob, my eyes are wide open. He's like, are you kidding me? This is not fast enough. Like, this is the fastest I've ever seen. And that's the value of guys getting to these games and watching these games. And my brother had the opportunity to be subbed in then to that practice, you know, and according to him, he said he held his own, but he said, wow, you know, I mean, just the difference in the speed of play is unbelievable. And, you know, that's what I was just trying to convey to our guys, you know, during that Scarsdale warm up, like, guys, we can't play like we're in slow motion, you know, we just got to move that ball quicker.
Right. What I generally, you know, kind of yell out to them is like, in 12 minutes, you guys are going to have to move the ball much faster than that. So you might as well just start doing it now, right? Like, what, you know, it should be preparing you for what you have to do very shortly. And it just, you know, it doesn't seem to, but it shows you the value in the coaching, right? Like Ray Reid is having to do that with his team at a training session, but like players on their own, you know, collectively, maybe some individuals, but will default to not necessarily playing or working at a level that they're capable of. And it's up to us to kind of try and maximize that. So that's where we come in. So that's kind of where some of our focus is right now, in trying to figure out how we can not come out into games on our heels and kind of passively and slowly, and, you know, kind of explode out of the opening whistle instead. And we're trying a bunch of different things, you know, from kickoffs to things we're implementing into our pregame. We've changed a lot of the things that we do to just try and do something different, but it's still a work in progress.
Yeah, no doubt about it. But, you know, like you said, our kids have been, you know, receptive to our coaching, and I really appreciate that. I do. I've always thought, I mean, I'm an old coach now, but I've always thought it's a mindset. You know, another quick story for you about myself. I'm at Iona, playing on the men's soccer team there, and I just love sports. My wife and I, Nicole, were driving up to Herkimer and then driving back today, and for whatever reason, we just started talking about just sports and just how much we both love sports. She played volleyball and soccer in high school and played soccer at James Madison University, and I was telling her, you know, I said, I had the Mets game on the radio, and I said to her, I love sports. I just absolutely love it. So I'm at Iona playing on the men's soccer team, and in the fall, the tennis team had tryouts. They had walk-on tryouts. Now, you know how these walk-on tryouts go. You know, they don't want anybody, right? They're not interested in anybody. So I go to walk on the men's tennis team, and I don't know it at the time because I'm, you know, this freshman who knows nothing. They have a very good tennis team. I didn't know that at the time, and I'm a little late to tennis. Did I ever tell you the story, Coach? I don't know if I ever told you.
No.
But this is the mindset I feel like that sometimes our players are lacking in for whatever reason. Not that I was a great player, because I wasn't, but I always had this mindset. I just think this is such an important story. So it's walk-on tryouts, and it's in the fall season where soccer is 6 days a week, but I still, you know, tennis was a couple days a week, and they had these walk-on tryouts, and I just, like I was saying, I just love sports. So I went to walk on, and, you know, you had to register prior to, and then, you know, you go up the day of, you know, and you sign in. We had to sign in at a table. And then they made us watch. They made us stand there and watch the team practice. And these guys, it's like watching the U.S. Open. It was like, oh my God, it's like my brother's experience. Like, I've never seen tennis players this good in my entire life. And I'm there with probably 5, 6 guys. I mean, it's almost 40 years now, right? I'm 56 years old. So 38 years ago, I guess this is. So it's sort of tough for me to remember. But my memory of it is I'm standing there with 5 or 6 other guys that are walking on. and we're watching for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 15 minutes. They all left. Every single one of those other players that signed in for walk-on tryouts left. And we're all talking to each other. We don't know each other, but they're like, man, this is so good. And guys like, I'm never going to make this team. And another guy leaves, and another guy's like, yeah, I'm not making the team either. They all left. I was the only one staying there. But my mentality wasn't, I'm not going to make this team. My mentality was, I am going to get an opportunity in a couple of minutes to walk on this tennis court and play against these guys that are freaking awesome. I mean, so I'm just on my toes. I'm stretching. I'm ready to go. And the coach, like I said, these are walk-on tryouts. I've been in enough of them to know that they're trying to get exactly what happened, for all the players to leave. So finally, the coach sees me, and about a half hour into it, he's like, all right, let's go, get on the court. So I come running over, I'm all excited, and I jump on the court. And I don't know it at the time, but he puts me with the best player on the team. This guy's name's Janabi, and he starts whacking the ball at me. And I mean, ball's deflecting off my racket. I mean, it's embarrassing for the first 30 seconds, for the first probably 90 seconds. I mean, I just cannot adjust to the speed that this kid is hitting the ball, but I didn't care, man. I just dug in, and I was like, all right, I got to be faster. I got to be quicker. I got to focus in on that ball more. And long story short, 5 minutes into it, I'm starting to rally with the guy. 10 minutes into it, I'm keeping the ball back at a pretty good pace. And after the tryout, I don't know how long the tryout lasted, 15, maybe 20 minutes. The coach says to me at the end, he's like, listen, we got practice tomorrow. You want to come to practice tomorrow? I was like, heck yeah, I'll be here. So I go to practice the next day. I don't know if it was the next day, because again, maybe it's like Tuesday, Thursday or whatever. But the next time I was at practice, this kid Janabi, who is the number one tennis player at Iona, called me over when he saw me pull into the parking lot. He's like, Seipp, let's go. You're with me. And he wanted to hit with me. Just because I think he felt like my love for the game, and my love for a challenge, and my love to compete, and my love to just play quickly, you know what I mean? And again, I just think that mentality is the mentality that sometimes our players lack, and that they would have left that walk-on tryout, But my mentality is always like, wow, look at these guys. They are so good. I cannot wait to do my very best. And listen, I didn't play. I made the team. I think I played in two matches that we were kind of guaranteed to win. It was almost like a charity thing, them giving me a couple of times on the court, but it's just that mentality, and I just felt it in that Scarsdale warm-up, we're just lackadaisical, and I'm thinking, guys, we're playing against the 3-time section champs. 2 out of the last 3 years, they've won the state title. We got to be on our best behavior. We got to be on our toes. I mean, you guys got to be ready to play at such a high level, like my brother at Southern Connecticut with Ray Reed, and to me, it's just a mentality, because our players can do it. We've seen our players do it, and we encouraged them in those first 10 or 15 minutes against Scarsdale. Scarsdale freaking kicked our tails, right? The first 10 or 15 minutes, but we encouraged our guys to step up and pressure the ball and be more aggressive and play quicker, and they did. And at halftime, we had a pretty lengthy conversation with the group, and again, credit to this team. They really responded in the second half, and Scarsdale, even it was 0-0 at halftime, if I remember correctly, right?
Yep.
And Scarsdale goes up 1-0, but this is the mentality I'm talking about. We didn't lay down, we didn't die, we didn't shrug our shoulders. We were just like, all right, like you said, we've got a kickoff. Hey, let's get the kickoff. Let's see if we can get it right back, and let's just go for it, and if we lose, hey, we're expected to lose, right? I mean, we're going against such a good quality program and team, but let's give it everything we've got. And again, credit to our guys. They did give it everything they had, and we wound up winning the game. Sean Vibrock scores the game tying goal, and Austin Seipp, knocks in the game winner. But all the other players, it's not just Sean and Austin that scored the goal. I mean, everybody just really stepped up their level of play, and we did it without Justin Ortiz, right? Justin, really one of our better players. So just really, really impressed with how he responded, after not warming up very well in that Scarsdale game, and then starting off the game not too good. I don't have the stats in front of me. I don't know if you do, Coach, but they had like 240 completed passes to our 110.
110,
if I remember correctly. Yeah,
something like that. Yeah. They definitely, controlled the game and controlled the play, and they are as advertised, still very, very good. The way that they're able to break a press and things like that. But I was really proud of how we played and defended and competed in that game, especially after, we had only played one game up until that point, that Carmel game. And last week we were here talking about like, well, what's going on here? And our next challenge was that one at Scarsdale. And I thought we competed so well. I thought that we defended with just an unbelievable tenacity. And I think that we did play good soccer. We created some chances. We had opportunities. We capitalized on some of those. We, did some things strategically that helped tilt things in our favor a little bit. So I thought it was a good game against them. Whereas we've had some not so good games against them in recent years where, they were almost non-competitive,
Yeah,
um,
yeah.
I think we've played them 2 or 3 times since that section semifinal game that we referenced a couple weeks ago. And they were not necessarily, any games that we had any handle on. But this game, even when we were down 1-0, it did not feel that we were being outplayed or anything like that. So I think our guys really stepped up. But, to your point about their warm up, right? When you have that mentality of here we are, we're here to win, maybe that was not, the mentality that our guys had on that bus ride down during warm ups or even, during different pieces of that game, at least collectively.
Yeah, and like you say, coaching is just so valuable and so important, right? And Ray Reed, teaching my brother, that there's a whole nother level of play and a whole nother level of speed of play. And my brother being receptive to that, and our guys are receptive. And you even said, at halftime we had made a couple of tweaks, and credit to our guys that they go out there and they try those tweaks and they embrace those tweaks. And this is something that we haven't had the last couple of years, right? And partly I think I'm to blame for it because I was too much of a player's coach, I think, and just really trying to listen to the guys. But the bottom line, I think I learned even as an old coach, and you still keep learning, is you can't do that. Everybody needs to be on the same page. And if you listen to a guy who's on a club team that plays this formation and plays this position, and then your other guy, your other captain of the team plays on a different club team with a different formation, and he's got some different ideas, and you got two people going in two different directions, and then it just becomes the asylum being run by the inmates, and no matter what team you're on, you gotta let the coach organize the team, and everybody's got to follow that coach, not just John Jay Soccer, but any team that you're on, because then you're all on one page, you're all a cohesive unit, you're all playing together, and credit to our guys that's what they have done. And, we really don't get much feedback from them. So I don't know if they like the adjustments we were making or if they don't like the adjustments we're making, but credit to them for going out there and just trying to implement, whatever we're telling them to do. And I think I'd be remiss if I didn't say that, that Tyke Johnson was fantastic in that first half against Scarsdale, right? It was 0-0 at halftime, and we were completely outplayed in that first half, or thoroughly outplayed, maybe not completely. And Tyke was standing on his head, made a couple of really good saves. It easily could have been 2 or 3-0 Scarsdale at halftime. Would have been a different halftime conversation probably if it was. So Tyke was fantastic in that game.
Yeah, he absolutely was. He kept us in there, at least 2 or 3 really big opportunities that he stifled, in the back, and allowed us to make those halftime adjustments and remain in that game and compete the rest of that way and come away with a victory. So put us at 2-0 for the season, but unfortunately after that game, our conversation with the players, we'd love to be showing up, talking to the players that evening or the next morning or the next day at practice about, how they gutted out a win and defended so tenaciously and worked so hard. But instead it was a whole different tone that were coming from us, because unfortunately our players, when we score that game winning goal, our bench clears out onto the field, running in front of the Scarsdale bench, celebrating. And then after the game, we have players just behaving, foolishly, taking pictures and things like that, just acting, without class and without any sort of, like there's no brain in their heads, so that wound up being kind of our big talking points in that evening. And then the next day was us kind of leaving there shaking our heads and frustrated and embarrassed and things like that, and having to apologize for the behavior of our players.
Yeah, I don't think that they did it on purpose, right? I think it was just an immaturity from our guys, and just like I was talking about before with a mentality, just we didn't go into that Scarsdale game, I don't think, with a mentality that we were going to compete and that we deserved to be on the same field as them and that we had a legitimate chance to win. Because when we did win that game, you would have thought, wow, that we had won, the Powerball lottery. I mean,
Right.
we were just jumping up and down, and we told the players it's okay to be excited. We want you to be excited. I made the men's team, tennis team at Iona. I was excited, but I wasn't jumping up and down. I knew that I had it within me, to compete with a kid like Janabi. Again, I couldn't beat the kid, but because he was so good. But I know that if I just put my mind to it, I could stay on the court with some of these really good tennis players. And same thing with our team, and that's what we had conveyed to our team. Like, we believe in you guys. And the way that you guys had acted there, it's almost like you guys didn't believe in yourself. Like it was like a miracle, like Miracle on Ice, like the U.S. team, beating the professionals in Russia in 1980. And, again, to your point, Coach, it's about coaching, and it's about, just teaching the players, that there's a different perspective. And we talk to the players a lot about, Scarsdale's mentality. If we would have acted differently, and walked off that field with a 2-1 victory, Scarsdale would have been thinking, hey, you know what? I mean, this is a team that we really got to, keep an eye on come sectional time. But instead, the way we acted, it's almost like, Scarsdale now, really probably is hoping to get us in the sectional tournament to sort of enact some sort of revenge on us. And again, we didn't do it on purpose. Our kids didn't do it on purpose. That there was no intent to embarrass Scarsdale, or it was just we were just a little too giddy and a little too young. And our program has gone through the last couple of years where we just haven't won, and we're just not used to winning.
Yeah.
But it's a work in progress. And you and I think, took some heat, from parents about how we reacted to that. But I think that you and I know in our hearts we did the right thing, and
Yeah.
we needed to teach the players, that there's a certain way to act when you lose, and there's a certain way to act when you win, and that involves respect, on either end, whether you're winning or losing. You got to do the right thing. You got to be respectful of your opponents, and you got to believe in yourself.
Right. Yeah. Just a couple of things come to mind as you're saying that. The first and foremost is that, like, your first point is, I think you and I anticipated that we would compete because I think we have a good team, right? Like, I got there early. I was talking to the Stars sales coach, and he was talking about how he thinks about his team, and I was saying I think we have a good team, and I think this is going to be a really good game. And you would think, like you said, the way that they reacted. You and I may have been the only people who thought we were going down there to actually compete to win the game. So it's frustrating as a coach when you're we think about all the work and the hours and the time that our players and everyone has put in. Like, it's so you can compete and play and win games like this. The second thing is, it's frustrating for us, I think, as coaches, because we don't foster any sort of thing like that in the players, and I've coached against coaches who do kind of act in that way. And for us, I think that you and I, try to handle ourselves with poise in class, win or lose. We've had issues with players losing without class over the years, like in 2024 in the summer league with Ardsley and things like that. And then to see our players again do it in a victory here, it's just frustrating because it takes away from what should be a very positive and good moment. And to reinforce what you said, I do think we absolutely did the right thing, because I think we caught heat for two things in both directions. One was for the behavior of our players itself, and then on the complete other side of how we handled that and the way that we kind of called our players to the carpet for it. And the fact that people in both directions here are very, very angry at us means I think we absolutely did the right thing, in terms of like how we handled it and addressed it and things like that. And explain that it's something that won't be tolerated in the future. And then the last point is one that you also touched on again, is like, for me, and I'm sure you, because we've been involved with the program since the time we were players and for so long, I have memories of when we were the team that everybody wanted to beat. We
Right.
were the big bad wolf that everyone was trying to knock off the top. And I so want to be there and feel like there's no reason we shouldn't be there. And in many ways, still carry myself within that program this way, and so do you. So, to see our players behaving that way, not by any fault of their own, it does speak to that. We have had difficulties in these last couple of years and have definitely been taken down a peg or several pegs. And hopefully this is a step that we can view positively back towards being, one of the more consistent and strong programs in the section and the state and everything like that. But I do think, like you said, it was not something that was intentional. It was not something that was, meant to be pointed. It was a bunch of 15 and 16-year-olds acting immaturely and just letting their excitement and emotion state, get the best of them. And, God willing, it's something that we won't have to address ever again in the future.
Yeah, I mean, we probably will because we're teachers and we're coaches and we're going to get, different kids coming through. But I think, just being a teacher and being a coach, and these are teachable moments, that you've got an opportunity, to have an impact on young guys and to teach them, the right way to behave. And I feel really strongly that we did the right thing, and that we're just, focused on these guys playing good soccer and being respectful. We're going to get to the Portchester game in a minute, but I just remember as you're talking, one of our players right in front of our bench gets called for a foul, and referee blows a whistle. Referee's right in front of our bench too, and one of our players just slightly kicks the ball away, like 5 yards, and I jumped on the player immediately, like, hey, don't do that. And the ref sort of did at the same time. He says, hey, that's a card, that's I'm warning you, but next time don't do it. But I jumped on him just as the referee jumped on him, and the referee turned to me and he said, hey, thank you, and I said to him, don't thank me, like I'm
Right.
doing what I should be doing.
Right.
It's my job as a coach to say to my player, you fouled the guy. That's, it's a bad situation. Don't make it worse by kicking the ball away. Like, why? Why would you do that? You're being sort of like a sore loser. You're being,
Right.
it's just not a respectful thing to do. So the referee made a call, respect this call, get back on defense, just don't touch that soccer ball. And I think little things like that, you and I we always take heat from some people, some of our detractors. And I just feel real strongly that, we're doing the right thing, and we're just making an impact on young players. And whether you agree with us or disagree with us, I would have to think that most people respect us. And to be honest, Coach, I think that's the reason why we started this podcast, right? I mean, we were just tired of so many of our detractors or so many of our disgruntled parents in the stands sort of telling our story. And we were tired of, being silenced and other people telling us, about how we had coached and, how our season went. And you and I said, you know what, let's get ourselves out there and let's tell our own story. We still have those detractors in the stands, no doubt about it. We got some complaints this week about playing time and stuff like that. So that's not going to go away. But I think the beauty of this format for us and the beauty of this podcast is at least we get to tell our side of the story, right? And at least we get to say, hey, why we did what we did, just that our hearts are in the right place. And you could agree with us, you could disagree with us, you could think, we have the right soccer tactics or, poor soccer tactics. But with this podcast, people listening, at least what we're thinking and where we're coming from.
Right. And at the end of the day, us teaching tactics and technique and everything like that to the players is huge. But ultimately, if you're working with teenagers, you're there to try and help them and help mold them into what you feel is a good and kind and decent person, and it's probably more important, right? Like, very few players are going on to play professional soccer. I know you've coached a couple, but every single person is hopefully going to grow into a functioning, healthy, mature adult. And if they don't, it won't be because their soccer coaches at John Jay were not trying to show them and be good examples for them and hold them to a standard that we feel is appropriate, and if not, to show them that, all right, well, here you are right now at age 15, let's try and just elevate that, not only your soccer game, but just the way that you handle things and the way that you deal with things and the way that you cope with, challenges and difficulties and victory. You have to win and lose with class. And it'll be a continued work in progress, I guess. But, it's I think back to when we were, going back and forth with Marcos, the Scarsdale coach. I think the last thing he said was something to the effect of, it's the beauty of working with teenagers. and
Right.
it's couldn't be more true,
And credit to Marcos too, right? Such a good
He's a good
coach,
guy. Yeah.
such a great coach. But yeah,
Yeah.
he's just a great guy, and he was very understanding. And he said, "Hey, not an issue on my end, just a really good guy. There's a lot of really good guys in the business, and that makes it fun. So we're 2-0, right? Going up to Portchester to end the week. So Monday we were in Scarsdale, and then Friday we had a couple of good days of practice. I thought Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday ran the kids hard, and then Friday we go to Portchester, and man, I'm not too sure what happened in that first half. My memory of the first half is we had the kickoff. Did we have the kickoff? No, maybe we didn't
No.
have the kickoff. But we immediately got like a corner pretty early in the
Within the
first couple of minutes.
first 30 seconds.
Okay,
We had a
okay,
corner
okay,
30
right.
seconds into the game.
Wow, it's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, now that I think about it, I think they had passed it back, and we sort of swarmed them, and we were on them right away and put some pressure on them, and yeah, knocked it over the end line. And we had a corner kick, and we played a short corner, and Justin Ortiz, one of our best players, trips over the ball. Right? I mean, an embarrassing moment for him, and
Yeah.
I just think that was, and I mentioned this at halftime to the guys, right? I said that was just such an indication of what that first half was going to be like. We could do nothing right. And I don't think it was out of a lack of effort. I think our guys were trying, because again, we had that whistle had blown and Portchester had kicked that ball off, and we were on them, man, like bees on honey. I mean, we were just all over them. So we were pressuring, and it was not out of a lack of effort, right? And we had that short corner, and Justin sort of, I think he was trying to do a scissor or whatever, and just long story short, tripped over the ball. And that whole first half, you and I were just saying to each other, like, we can't even complete a pass. Like, our best players on the field, our best passers get the ball, little to no pressure, and they're just giving the ball right to the Portchester team. We're like, what is going on?
Yeah,
Like, we've never seen our players play poorer than they had played. And we got scored on, and they had a couple of other really good chances too that we were surprised it wasn't more than just 1-0 down at halftime.
yeah, it should have been 2 or 3 for sure. It should have
Yeah.
been at least 2.
Yeah.
But yeah, that Justin tripping over the ball was just a snapshot of the first 40 minutes of the game. Like, we literally and figuratively just tripped over the ball for 40 straight minutes and gave it away, and had it go off the side of our foot. It was strange to see, because like you said, we've never seen these guys have these sort of technical issues, and
Right.
we got outplayed. It goes without saying, but it was very, very frustrating. I remember saying to you, with like 3 or 4 minutes left, it's like, halftime cannot come soon enough. Like, we
Right.
need to just get to halftime so we can
Right.
try and figure this out and talk to everybody. And we tried getting different players out there. We tried talking to guys when they came off, and it just, no matter who was out there or what we were doing, it was just a disaster of us playing the ball a foot wide of every player on our team, or a second too late. We were just half a step away from getting to a ball, or our first touch went off in the wrong direction, and it was maddening to watch, because you could see the frustration on our players too. Like, they know that's not how they
Right.
play, and
Right.
I'm sure we're going through these emotional sequences in our brains, and on the field it's got to be much more so to them. They're coming off of a huge victory, and then kind of the ebb and the flow of then getting yelled at by us, and then us trying to build them back up through 3 days of practice. And then,
Right.
all right,
Right.
here's our next opportunity to come out and really show what we can do, and enact our will, and show that we're going to win with class. And we come out and just concede a goal, and I
Could have
felt
been worse. Yeah.
yeah, it sure could have, and I felt for our guys. But we got into halftime. We kind of got them all settled down. Your big message to them was not to get on each other, because you could see the last 10 minutes, things unraveling, with players starting to point fingers and blame guys, when really, I mean, you got 10 fingers. There was 10 guys on the field to blame, because
Right.
no one played well.
Right.
Nobody had a good 40 minutes. Like, it
Right.
was brutal. So, but again, you're just looking for, what are we doing wrong? It's like, well, it's a whole lot of everything, and it's coming from everyone. But we were able to go into that half and come out at halftime, from halftime, and just almost a complete 180. We played so much better. We played the way we're capable of in the second half. Just a few little changes in terms of our mentality and things that we were looking to do, and then we cleaned up our tactical play, and we're able to put a goal away in the 53rd minute, 50 something like that. Logan got the ball to Sean Vibrock, was able to tuck it away in the corner, and from there you could see the confidence building in our players. Their shoulders are up, they're on their toes. They start playing with like their ears pinned back, ready to go. And with like 10 minutes left in the game, ball came in. I think Austin flicked it with his head to Chris Malacone, put it in the back of the net for his first goal ever for John Jay, and it's just that's fantastic. For the last 3 months, we talked about Chris's story and how he's overcome so many different obstacles and to earn a spot on our team and to earn playing time on our team. So to see him get the game-winning goal was fantastic. In kind of the brief opportunities he had to play, because he didn't play a ton, but the time he was out there, he definitely utilized and helped seal another win for us to put us to 3-0.
Yeah, he did. Really proud of him. We don't have the stats for that match yet, right? We're still having trouble with this whole local live switch over to Sports Engine and then getting the game film and getting it over to Huddle to get our stats. But I'm dying to see those stats from the first half to the second half. And you're right. At halftime couldn't come quick enough, and it just reminded me of like one of the things that I had learned going through the national coaching school. You go through the C license, the B license, and then the A license. So I remember going out to California for the A license. Sigi Schmidt and Lothar Osiander were my two. You probably don't know who those guys are, but
No.
because they're old school guys. But Lothar Osiander coached the '92 Olympic team in Barcelona. Dario Bros, who I played with, played for him. Sigi Schmidt coached the LA Galaxy after. I think I was out there in 1992. But long story short, I'm at the A license. It's the highest level coaching. And I'm thinking to myself, I'm walking in, I'm like, I am going to learn so much about soccer. I mean, this is going to be just the greatest coaching school ever. Truth be told, Coach, it wasn't a lot about soccer at all. It was about like the mentality of things. It was about like traveling and how you deal with the international time change and stuff like that. And one of the things that I'll never forget from that A license experience was Sigi Schmidt telling a story about how when your players are struggling and when it's not out of a lack of effort. They're doing the best they can, but I mean, man, they are just down on their luck and they're just mishitting the ball. And he said you cannot yell at the guys at that moment because they're yelling at themselves inside. Like you said, like, what am I doing? I'm such a better player than this. Why am I tripping over this soccer ball? And I just always remember him saying, you have to know when to yell at your players and you have to know when to put your arm around them. And I think that's what we did at halftime. We said, listen, you guys are trying, relax. Let's take a deep breath. We have an opportunity, to come out here in the second half. We're still in this game. We know we're such better players than we're playing. Let's just take a deep breath. We just haven't played well in the first half. Let's try to reset, how we play the game of soccer and go out there and just see, if we, can play much better in the second half. And Justin Ortiz had such a great second half too. We talk about him tripping over the ball, 30 seconds into the game, but he was on fire. He was on our sideline, right? Just flying up and down our bench side. He was just so good. And truth be told, we did make a couple of tactical adjustments too. I mean, there were some things going on in that first half that our players weren't recognizing in terms of, just matching up with certain guys and making sure that we had pressure on the ball. Portchester had so much possession in that first half, and they're a very good team, don't get me wrong, but a lot of it was because we just weren't stepping to the ball and putting pressure on the ball. So we talked about that at halftime. We talked about, where guys needed to be and what their responsibilities were defensively and what our shape should be, in relation to the Portchester's shape. So there were some tactical things, but I think more than anything else, it was just, let's all take a deep breath. Let's all hug each other. We love you guys. You guys love each other. Let's just, we're in this together. If we go down, we go down. It's okay, but let's stick together and let's not point fingers and let's just do the best we can. It's obviously an off day for us, right? There's and I did point out that 30-second, corner kick that we got and Justin just sort of, tripping over the ball. And I said, when that happens, it's just not our day. So maybe it's not our day in the second half, but let's go out there. Let's make a couple of adjustments that that we just talked about, and let's give it everything we got, and let's stick together no matter what. And like always, our guys came through, man. Our guys are listening to us, and our guys are coachable, and just so proud of how they fought. And you and I always talk about it. Win or lose, could care less, but it's just how we play and how we carry ourselves as players. And I was really proud of how well those guys played in that second half of the Portchester game.
Yeah, it was like we were an entirely different team. That's just the nature of playing and coaching and playing with. I mean, you see it at the national level, the international level, where teams just have disaster halves. So of course it's going to happen at the high school level, but really proud to see those guys respond and not beat themselves up and allow themselves to reset at that halftime. Because they came out and just played really good soccer in the second half. We really were able to dominate, to get a bunch of chances. Like you said, Justin was just fantastic on our side of the field. And guys were fantastic as well. I mean, Sean Bebruck was really good. Austin was really good. Logan and Wynn had much better second halves. Uriel was a rock in the back, and so was everyone in the second half. So it's just much, much better. That's the soccer that we need to play. It's the soccer that we're capable of playing. And kind of our job is just to try and get them to play that as often and frequently and much as possible. And I think, so far so good, right? We're 3-0. We haven't yet really come out firing on all cylinders, but we have played well. We've played well. We've played the style and type of soccer that we want to play. We've, really communicated the way we want to defend, and players, as they have the entire time we've been doing this, are responding, like you said. So you can't ask for anything more from them. I don't think we can ask for anything more from our players on the field right now, because the effort has been there. The attempt to do what we're asking has been there. And that's what we kind of talked about at halftime too. We were saying, like, it's just our execution. It's just the execution of what's going on. You guys are trying. You're trying to do it. We're we have a good plan. We're just not executing, and it's nobody's fault, because it's everybody's fault. It's not.
Right.
It's not like, hey, this guy's got to get it together, or every time it goes out on this flank. No, it's like there's enough blame to go around for everyone, and just relax. Let's come out. Let's play 40 good minutes of soccer, and whatever happens, happens. And that's what we did. And thankfully we were able to come away with a win. But more importantly, we were able to play good soccer and generate chances, and play the way that we're capable of and that we want our guys to play.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Credit to our guys, right? Credit to our guys for just fighting through 3 tough games, 3 road games, right? We haven't played a home game yet. So we finally open up at home on Tuesday, 5:00 against White Plains. Looking forward to that. And then Saturday we go to North Rockland, right? They knocked us out of the sectional tournament last year in overtime. So we've got 2 big games coming up this week. So we'll be back in a week to talk about those games, Coach. Yeah. Good stuff.
Break that
Appreciate
down.
you doing this. Yeah. This is awesome.
Yeah, no, thank you again, Coach. Hopefully this next week we're here talking about being 5-0, talking about how, hey, we finally, that peak that we know that we can play at, we hit it. We were able to get there. Now let's try and sustain that. Right now, it's still kind of been a climb up to what we're capable of. Because we have a talented team. We have really good players, and we just want them to achieve what they're capable of. That's it.
And listen, anybody watching, John Jay players or not, Mayor's College, Saturday night, 7:00 against Quinnipiac. Be there, right? It'll be a really good soccer game. So we hope that our guys will be there. You and I will be there, probably behind the Quinnipiac bench, right? We always like to tuck behind the visiting team's bench, just because it's usually quieter over
less
there.
Crowded,
less crowded, and we can really listen to the coaching and what's going on. You and I, we just can't absorb enough of that stuff, right? Just absolutely love it. But
yeah, I can't wait. It'll be another good week coming up, and
looking forward to it.
Yeah, me too. So thank you everyone for tuning in. We'll see you next week. For Coach Seipp, this is Coach Horton. Everyone have a wonderful week. Bye bye.